Why I deleted optional behavior. For a long time, I thought inconsistency was my problem. Have anybody ever thought of that, right? Inconsistency is my problem. Maybe I needed more discipline. I needed more motivation. I needed more willpower to get things done. And through my studies in organizational leadership and my master's degree thesis, we talked a lot about this idea of like commitment, like what makes people commit and that type of thing. So when I really looked at what I was doing, it wasn't that I needed more discipline. I'm a very disciplined person, and many of us are. I didn't need more motivation and I didn't need more willpower. The real issue was I gave myself too many outs, AKA optional behavior. I allowed things that I said were important to me to become optional. And so we're going to go into that and why I deleted that. So when I say optional, I started looking at my life in terms of 2025, and I did this in 2025, and like I said, I'm scaling this into 2026 in a bigger way. But I look at what were the things that were optional to me in my life? Optional planning, optional sitting down and looking at my finances monthly, optional follow throughs, optional standards that I said I had for myself. And I say optional because I said that those were important, but I didn't do them. So they must have been optional, right? And so instead of asking myself, why can't I stay consistent? I started to ask myself, what have I made optional that I shouldn't? Right. So if we say something's a commitment is something that we're committed to, commit. So it's not optional, right? But if I say I want to try to do this or I'm going to do this and I don't fulfill that, I'm having optional behavior on it, then it's an optional thing. So what I found that I wasn't necessarily inconsistent. I was allowing negotiations into my life. So we'll talk a little bit more about what that means. But maybe in your life as well, there might be one thing in business that you've also made optional. So we kind of think about that for a second. So I'm going to give you a little background about my 2025 and some things I did to kind of run this home for you, what I'm talking about when I say I deleted optional behavior. So in 2025, there were some really important things for me that I felt were really important for my life. My physical health was declining. I was at my highest weight I think I had ever been in my life. Even the weight that I was like higher than when I was pregnant with my kids. So looking at that, I wasn't feeling healthy. My knees hurt, my joints hurt. I was sick all the time. And so 2024, as I'm looking at that, I'm like, man, what do I need to do? So I made a commitment in 2025 to change my health and get back into good health. It was always a priority to me. And for some reason, over the last 3 years prior to 2025, I kind of like let that go. And I'm not even sure why, but I did. And so in 2025, I decided I was going to commit to my health. And so a couple of things that I decided in that was that I was going to make a commitment that I was not going to drink for 90 days because I found that I live in Florida. There's a party all the time. A lot of people are here on vacation. There's constantly something to do. It's a very active place to live, but always what comes with that activity was a lot like, oh, let's go out and have a drink afterwards. Let's go out to eat afterwards. And so that kind of behavior, whether you're working out all the time or not, is going to tend to keep you from getting to your physical goals or whatever it might be. So that's what was happening to me. So I said, okay, then I'm just not going to drink for 90 days. I need to cut out some habits, find different ways of enjoying myself, find different ways of handling stress and etc. Right. But what I did that was different than most people is I didn't say, I'm going to try and stop drinking for the next 90 days. I instead said, I'm a person who does not drink. And this was wildly different than behavior I had in the past where I like to use the word I try. Because if I use the word I try and I fail, then it gave me the sense of, well, I gave it my best shot. Right. But when I say I am a person that does not drink, there's something different that changes in my mind and the energy that I put out in the world. And so what happened was I was then able to show a true commitment. I'm a person that doesn't drink. So in those 90 days, I did not drink. But beyond that, I had people coming into my life, like my friends and stuff, who I would say, I'm a person who doesn't drink. I don't drink. And so I go to parties and events and all these things that I was doing before that. And I would say, I don't drink. And eventually my friends would, say it out loud to other people. So a waiter would come up and say, hey, can I get you a drink? They go, oh, no, she doesn't drink, but she likes iced tea with lemonade. Right. And so this became the kind of the thing that happened. So even if I wanted to have a drink or had any kind of desire to do that, They were reminding me of my goal, my big why, right? But I identified that this is what I am or who I am. So that's a big part of helping to eliminate that optional behavior is saying, this is a commitment. This is who I am and identifying that way. And so what happened was when I was able to do that and I successfully came to the 90 days and actually went beyond 90 days and kind of extended that throughout all of last year where I avoided drinking. It wasn't a big part of my life. What happened with that is that I was able to prove to myself that I can make a commitment and it was so easy. And that's what I want to share with you today. When you delete optional behavior, it becomes so easy. You don't have to worry about motivation. You don't have to worry about discipline because it's just a commitment. It's just who you are, right? And so, because I found that to be so easy and I didn't have to negotiate with myself, I was allowing myself to make this whole new habit, or if you will, easy for me to shift to.